Hi, good afternoon, FGA. Good afternoon, everyone who's here online. Very nice to see you. If you are excited for today's talk, just click like and say hi on the comment section. This is our third week on Real Talk. Today's topic is on worship when the music fades. And why don't we take some time now to share this talk with other friends? You can invite your friends to join with you, and also you can click on the host a watch party button as well, so that you can also share to your Facebook friends and invite them to come and join us in this talk. We'll start in a minute or two with our panelists today. Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. And yes, very nice to see so many of you joining now. In a short while, we'll start inviting our panelists to come and share their stories with us. And this morning, we had a very powerful sermon shared by Pastor Daniel on the topic on heart of worship. And we hope many of you are blessed by it. I'm personally very blessed by the sermon. So this afternoon, we're just going to be talking to our panelists and hearing their stories in their journey of worship. All right, it's 4 o'clock now. I will start inviting our panelists to come on the chat with us today. So all the panelists today are actually in the worship team in FGA. So many of you have seen them. The first speaker that I will welcome, if you have been in the youth ministry, you have seen his face a lot. His name is Sean. Let us welcome Sean together. Hi,
Hello,
Sean. Good
everybody.
afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon, Cedric.
Everyone, you can click like or heart shape just to send some support to Sean this afternoon. And the next speaker that I will welcome is, if you pay attention to the left corner of main sang sometimes, you will see this guy in the drum cubicle a lot, and his name is RJ. We'll call him RJ today. Welcome, RJ.
Hi guys, everyone.
Hey,
Yeah, send some heart and likes to him. And the next person that we'll welcome will be the a keyboardist that you see a lot in our church. And also during this MCO time, we have seen her and her husband leading worship for all of us on many Sundays actually. So let us welcome Melody.
Hi, Xiao Cheng. Hi, Sean. Hi,
Melody.
RJ.
Hello.
Hi everyone.
Hi,
Good afternoon.
everyone. Hi.
Good afternoon.
Thank
Good
you so
afternoon.
much for joining us this afternoon in sharing this topic on worship. And thank you everyone who tuned in this afternoon. If you're having your coffee or your tea, let's just enjoy this afternoon together and listening to the stories from our dear panelists here today. We'll start off with some icebreaker just to let us all get to know our panelists here. So why don't we go with one round of introduction and just share with us how many years you have been serving in the worship team in church and what is your role? Why don't we start with Sean?
Okay. Hello, everybody. My name is Sean. How many years? So I'm given to understand that in terms of serving, I'm the youngest among panelists, lah. So I'm the youngest in terms of years in worship team. So I have been serving for about 10 years in the worship team. I started out as a keyboardist, and then I morphed into a worship leader. And so yeah, so now I'm a worship leader in the YM worship team.
Okay, yeah, you are the least experienced here, but it's still many years, right, in the worship team.
Yeah.
Yeah, so definitely interesting.
Hmm.
Next person, RJ, how many years have you been in the worship team and what is your role? We know your role.
Yeah, so I've been in worship team since I was 15. So it's been 12 years already. Yeah, 12 years playing drums for the main sanctuary worship team.
Thank you also for sharing with us your age. We can do the math. The next person will be Mel. Can you share with us how many years you've been serving in the worship team and what's your role?
Hi, my name is Melody. I've been serving since my younger days in youth, but I've been serving in FGA worship team since my university days. Please don't do the maths, okay? Like what Xiaoqing said, don't do the maths, okay? I've been serving for probably about 19 years, and I'm the keyboardist.
Okay, 19 years. That's almost 2 decades, Mel. Wow, that's a
No,
lot of
no.
dedication. And you still look so fresh, and every worship session that I've been with you, it's new every session. So really amazing.
Oh,
Okay, the
thanks,
next
Melvin.
question to break the ice. Why don't the panelists you all go one round and share one embarrassing moment that you have experienced during worship session or on stage? We can start with RJ.
For me, my most embarrassing moment, right? So, uh, the most embarrassing moment that I could remember is that while playing drums during a worship song, I was really into it. And then when I was playing, I was headbanging. And then one stick actually ran up my specs and pulled my specs. So my spectacles flew away from the drums. And I don't wear contact lens, so I couldn't see far. Then I couldn't see the worship leader. And during back then we didn't have IEMs. So and I was the band leader. So there was no one else giving the cues. So I had to quickly ask the closest person to me. At the time it was Esther Rani. So I had to ask her to help me find my specs. And then when she found it, one of my lens was missing. So I could only have like half vision. And yeah, it was a roller coaster ride for me lah. As a band leader and a drummer. Yeah.
And continue
Oh,
with just one
Yeah,
lens.
with just one lens
Oh
until the whole session
no.
was over. Then people came and talked to me and all like that. I think Pastor Jeremy also came and talked to me, and no one noticed that my one of my lens was missing. Yeah, that was the funniest thing. Yeah, yeah,
Wow. Wow. Wow.
yes. You can imagine my expression. I was trying very hard not to laugh. Yeah.
Mm,
Mm,
yeah, must be
yes.
an experience. Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
What about you, Sean?
For me, I think for me was when it was like the beginning stages of worship leading. Uh, the problem is always trying to get the key. You know, like when they play a G, then you're like, ha, ha, ha. So you're trying to like make sure that when you start the song, you start in the right key. So I think I stressed myself too much and I started in the wrong key. And it's like you sing to the point that there's no turning back kind of thing lah. So you just have to go with it. But then like after a while, you just have to like suck up your ego and just like okay, let's stop the song. That was bad. Let's start the song again. So I ruined a worship moment, that's for sure. But yeah, lah, it's like the whole face turn red. You start sweating. People think it's the Holy Spirit touching you, but actually it's just embarrassment lah. So that is like yeah, that is my embarrassing moment lah. Worship leading. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Okay. Mel, what about you?
Oh, Sean really bring back memory because mine was something to do with the key as well. Um, I'm playing as in the keyboard, and I remember there was this occasion that I was supposed to do the introduction for the song leader before he starts the song. So I think I have to play 4 bars in, and then he starts the song together with the other singers. But I think what I was just so into it, I played totally a wrong key and a much higher key. And I didn't even notice that until like when he started singing, I was wondering why is he squeaking away? And then only I realized that I was in the wrong key. And that was too late to turn back. And everyone was into a song, congregation was into a song. So I can see that the song leaders and the singers, they are trying to keep their cool by pretending like nothing happened. But I think at the corner of their eye, they probably was like trying their best to like look at me and say what's happening kind of thing. Yeah, but I feel so bad. It was, yeah, for me, I just wanted to roll myself under the keyboard and just hide myself kind of thing, but it was too late. But anyway, but I just thank God for the singers. They were very cool about it and they just roll with it until the end, although they're squeaking away all the time. Yeah, so that was my embarrassing moment.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing, Melody. I wonder if both of you were in the same service that time when Sean
No,
was
no,
out.
no.
No,
That would be
That
What
would be
amazing.
hilarious though.
memories are fun, right?
no,
That would
no.
be hilarious.
Yeah.
Sean,
Jokes aside,
Sean
I
wouldn't
think. Sorry, Mel, continue.
Sean wouldn't share in such a way if, let's say, I was the keyboardist who messed up his chords for him.
Correct.
Yeah, I think jokes aside, right? Like I think worship team definitely have to work in harmony and
Mm,
really understanding each other and the flow and everything as well.
yeah.
And that's one thing that I learned definitely a lot being 2 or 3 years in the worship team. I'm a toddler in the worship team. um, so why don't we go on to the next topic, right? And for those who have just joined us, we are on this topic on worship when the music fades. And this is our third week on Real Talk. Every week we have different topic. If you've been enjoying the Real Talk or if you are interested in today's session, why don't you just share with your friends or invite them to come and join you? And today we have our speakers who've been in the worship team with us. So we are really excited to hear their stories. During the preparation time, I have the privilege to hear their stories in advance. So it's definitely going to be very interesting. So keep and stay with us until the end. Okay, now we're going into the next session. We'll be talking on the topic of worship continuing. Why don't we start with, since all of you have so many years in worship, serving in the worship team, right? Why don't you all share with us what does worship really mean to you? Maybe we can start with Mel.
Okay. Worship is, for me, it's like, it's a very big word. From very young, I was taught that maybe because we have this perception that we label things as worship. Oh, let's go into worship now, and kind of thing. So I have a very big misconception when I was like very very young, and I remembered that always the church leaders will say, "Oh, it's not a moment. It's not boxed into a session. It's something that you do," and some people call it a lifestyle. But as I grow older, I thought that the best definition I will put it in such a way is that it's sort of like a continuous response from me towards how great our God is. So whether it's in action, in speech, and everything, yeah. In These are just the way I put it, lah. Okay, so yeah, that's for me. Worship. That's what worship means to me.
Okay. And we'll go to RJ next because you've been laughing at some of the comments, I presume.
Yeah, sorry, I was reading the comments just now. I pressed the wrong button. Yeah. What does worship mean to me? So worship, I think for me, it really is the lifestyle that we portray in our daily lives. So for me, I have church friends and my high school friends and uni friends, and most of my friends outside of church are non-believers. So it's actually very important for me to show them what it is like to be a Christian. So uh, I I can safely say that it's not easy, and there's a lot of temptations. But then I think that's the beautiful part of about being a Christian, where you just literally put your faith in God and then just follow His footsteps, and then hopefully you shine His light through your actions to your friends and all like that. Yeah, so it's not just about sitting behind the drums and then showing how good you are during worship, but then it's also the life that you live. Yeah. So that's what
Mm,
worship means to me. Mm.
that's right.
Mm.
Thanks for sharing. Yeah, it's definitely about us living a life of worship and not be the different person on
Mm.
Sunday or only when you're
Yep.
serving and then show another face or your real
Mm.
face to the other people. Yeah, definitely
Yeah,
we
yeah.
are have to
That's
be
right.
the same person and remain the same heart wherever we are to whoever we are meeting. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What about Sean?
For me, I think very similar to what RJ and Mel shared. Worship is definitely a lifestyle. But I think when I was younger, growing up, I always thought worship was like singing. So like singing, and then you play the tambourine, and then got the ribbon at the back there, and then you the last time, right? So I didn't understand. I thought it was like but yeah, I think there are many forms of worship, and um, in that life that we are living, the way we carry ourselves, it's always in that manner of worship to God, and so yeah, to me it's a lifestyle and how we carry ourselves in everything that we do. It's for God. It's towards Him, and so yeah, that is worship for me.
Thanks for sharing. And what Pastor Daniel this morning was sharing in the sermon also, right? It's about even in the lowest time of your life, you choose to worship God. It's about
Yeah.
life, and it's not just about the songs that we sing on at the beginning of the service, kind of
Mm.
thing, right? So yeah,
Yeah.
thank you all for sharing. And we move on to the next question. Maybe you can all share with us, why did you choose to join the worship team so many years ago? We can start with Ajay.
Me again. Okay,
Go
so
on, Mel.
I actually never planned to join a worship team when I was younger. So back then I was younger. All I did was just tap my fingers on the main sanctuary chair while the drummer was playing. So somehow I just find uh, the drummer for FGA quite cool back then. Quite cool back then. So whenever he was playing, I was just tapping my fingers. Then one random uncle noticed that I was tapping my fingers along to the drums. Then he approached my dad. He approached my dad saying, "Hey, I think your son, I think he can play drum. I know that drummer. You want to have a chat with him or not?" Then, so nice of the drummer, he invited me and my dad to his house for a chat, just to see how much do I like drums. So he showed me his drums, then he taught me a little bit. Then I was very amazed. I was very amazed by what a real drum set looked like. Then when I started learning drums, I didn't have a drum set because my dad was like, no, if you want a drum set, you gotta show me how much determination. I don't want to later buy already. Then after that, just throw it aside, like all Asian parents are lah. So I decided to join the children ministry worship team because children ministry there wasn't any standard. Yeah, you just play because they really needed the people to help out. So I just decided to join. So I joined Children Ministry Worship Team, and then basically I was just using their drum set to practice lah. Yeah, I was just using a drum set to practice, and then I also go for the Children Ministry prayer meetings on Wednesdays just to play drums. So basically, I practice drums twice a week at most before I had a drum set. Then I joined the Children Ministry Worship Team. Then I think one day Pastor Guy called me. He contacted me through my drum teacher. Then he was like, he just told me like just come on a Thursday night practice session. He didn't tell me it was a practice session. He just told me to come and jam. So okay lah, I brought one pair of sticks. My dad had to drive me there. Then he's like, oh, just go on the drum floor and jam. And there was no one. It was just him, Justin, the electric guitarist back then, and me. Then it's like, then he just told Justin to start playing the keyboard and then playing some tunes. Then I was like, just play that, just jam. Then okay, I was like, okay, just listen to Uncle, then just play a bit, and then that's it. Oh, you're in. Huh? I'm into what? Oh, the main central worship team. I'm like, huh? Like, huh? Yeah, you're just like that. Then he literally put me on the spot. There was no practice because after I went for the jamming session, I had to go to children's camp. Then I had to play drums on Sunday itself. So I came back from children's camp on Saturday afternoon, and then I had to play drums on Sunday. Yes, first service some more. I've never woke up so early in my life. And then I didn't even practice. And I was so nervous. All I did was I just looked at the clock at the main sanctuary, main sanctuary where you get to see from the stage. There's a big clock there, right? Yeah. So I was just looking at the clock and then looking at Pastor Guy because he was leading worship. I was like, Pastor Guy, clock. Pastor Guy, clock. And back then the drums was on stage somehow. Yes, and I was only 15. Yeah, that's my story. That's how I joined the worship team. It was never planned.
Wow.
I
What an
remember.
interesting
Yeah.
story. What an interesting
Yes.
story. And then in the blink
Yes.
of an eye, 12 years have passed, yeah?
Yes.
And
Yes. So old
wow.
now. Yeah.
What about Mel? How's your story? Is it very similar? Being put on the
Mm,
spot?
no, not really. Mine is actually it's more of But it's a bit like RJ, like because we've seen something, and the interest built in us. So for me, actually, I came from a traditional church when I was young. I mean, in my childhood days. So I was in a Brethren church. So in the Brethren worship setting, we actually only have one pianist, and the pianist is there to play every single song that is demanded of from the congregation. That time we don't even have a song leader. So the setting was like anybody can just stand up and say that we want to sing hymn number 422 from the hymnal book. And the pianist just have to flip, and maybe if, even without flipping, I think the pianist probably in like under 5 seconds have to start the song playing, and the whole congregation just start singing. So I come from that kind of background. So for me, every time I look forward to see and just amazed at how the pianist pull off, and just waiting for the day that the pianist said stand up and say, "Oh, I don't know how to play this song," kind of thing. But it never happened. So for me, this is like amazing. And I always tell myself, "Oh, I play the piano, so I must learn something so that I can become more like that," and kind of thing. So I started off in that kind of wanting to be in part of the worship team, so-called no team lah, just a pianist for church. And I started off, of course, with Sunday school as well, like RJ. So Sunday school is the easier way to get in that sense. But we're playing Sunday school songs, so Sunday school song was easy. It's like God is so good and all these kind of things. So yeah, so I started off that, and I will say that no turning back after that. It became sort of part of my life. So as we move on, I just see how we can be involved in part of the worship part. So for me, that's how I got joined the worship team in that
Mm,
sense.
mm, mm, mm. Okay. Thanks for sharing, Mel. What about Sean?
Uh, so my experience of why I joined the worship team is very, very different from RJ and mine was because they didn't have enough keyboardists back then. Uh, for me was I actually started I skipped the whole children ministry. Like I didn't like because I knew back then like I could play piano, and I was playing piano because my parents forced me to play piano, not because I wanted to. Like, I thought I was a guy. I thought I was going to play drums and what, right? I never expected to learn the piano. But yeah, so I was forced to learn the piano, and like throughout children ministry, I didn't want to play the piano lah. But then like when I went to youth ministry or youth church back then, yeah, they didn't have a keyboardist, so they say, hey, you just join lah. Okay lah, join lah. And then 10 years later, I'm still here lah. So that is my experience. Like nothing spiritual whatsoever lah. It's just like see a need, feel a need lah.
I think the difference here is some of us might feel like being put on the spot, but we can, but it's definitely we can see that how God has just brought you to this place and just put you there and equip you along the way and when you need RJ, right? And some of us will be, God has blessed us with the talent or or there's this desire in our heart, and then we choose to take the action. And we hear some tips here. Good ministry, children ministry is a good place to start serving.
Yes, yes, yes,
Yes,
yes.
yes.
Yeah. So moving on to the next question, we know that we all have some experience. We know that many of you, three of you, have some experience in the worship team, and we have worshipped so many songs over the years, and there are definitely songs of the seasons as well. But is there a favorite song? Do you have a favorite song? Is there a song that you always go back to? Can you share with us? We can start with Sean this time.
Okay. Favorite song. I think like for a lot of us, the songs change throughout the seasons. Like right now, we got the new song "Blessing." That is probably like the most played song on everybody's phone right now. Yeah, but for me, I think for me, the most intimate song that personally for myself is "Secret Place" by GMS, written by Remy. Yeah. So why is that the song? Um, as worship leaders, not just for myself, but I think for our worship leaders, there's always this fine line between worship leading, performing. It's as a worship leader, it's very easy to ride on the hype of the congregation, right? If you do a song that the congregation love, then they will sing super loud, and then everybody will go like, "Wow, worship so anointed," that kind of thing. But then when you do a new song, for example, or you do a song that people do not know, then they sing very soft, and then you are like, maybe worship not so. Yeah. So I think for me, the reason why I enjoy that song is because how worship is for me on stage is a portrayal of what happens behind the scenes, what happens when you're not on stage, what happens when you're in a secret place with God, when you're in your room, when you're having your alone time, when nobody is watching. So yeah, that is for me. That is my song.
Thank you, Sean. Yeah, definitely. We want to be serving in the worship team from our heart, right? And it's not just doing a performance. Yeah, and there's definitely the fine line there. Yeah, and if you're watching here, you can also share in the comment and just share with us like what is your favorite song and why, and let all of us know as well. We can move on to RJ. You can share with us your favorite song if you have any and why.
My favorite song. To be honest, I don't have any favorite songs or any favorite thing or whatever. I don't believe in favorites. So, but then my go-to song is "How Great Is Our God." Yes, it's quite old, but then it's a song that will always be in my heart lah for a very long time. Because "How Great Is Our God" is a song that shows how great our God is, basically in any situation, in any time in our lives. So it's easy to praise God when things are going well, but it's not easy to actually praise God or thank God and give how to say it like how to say it like it's hard to say, God, you're so good, you're so great when times are hard. It's really not easy. So that's a practice that I always do, whether it's good times or bad times. I will always sing that song. It's the first song I learned on the drums. It's the first song I learned on the guitar. So yeah, that's the go-to song, no matter what. Mm, mm,
Mm-mm. That has
yeah,
been your go-to song for more
yeah.
than a decade now.
Since I
Wow.
was
And
since I was young, since I was 11. Yeah.
yeah,
Mm,
yeah. And definitely it's a choice. It's about
mm,
it's coming to the place and say, God, I don't feel it. I don't know what's going on. I don't understand why,
yeah.
but I choose to worship you because you are great and you are
Yeah.
above my problems. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that is the attitude. Yeah. Okay. Mel, what about you?
Well, for me, I do have favorites in different season. Like for example, what Sean brought out, say the blessing now is mostly. I think it plays a lot in my home as well. Not just me. I think my kids love it as well. So it just goes on and on. But for me, there is one song is like so called my all time favorite. Like RJ. It's a go to song kind of thing because it just comes to me naturally when um sometimes when you don't have song in your heart and it just comes to me, that will be the first song that comes to me is Lord, I'm amazed by you. It
Mm,
says it's the words that actually captivates me. I mean that it speaks of my season, whether it's good time or bad time, like you say. It says you dance over me while I'm unaware. You sing all around, but I never hear the sound. So it's trying to say like whether you are aware or you're not aware, God is there, and it's my way of declaring to God that I'm still amazed by Him on what He do, kind of thing. Yeah.
mm,
So
mm,
that's the song.
mm. The songs that bring us to the place where it's just us and God, and us remembering that He is our secret place and He is always good, and we are always amazed by how good He is. Why don't now we share over the years serving in a worship team, uh, if you have just one defining moment during the worship sessions that you have this experience with God, being in the worship team, and why share with us what was it, and how was it like, and how did you feel during that time? Do you have that one highlight experience during your all these years? Yeah, maybe. Let's see. We can start with RJ.
Okay, I wanted to say ladies first. Okay. For me, one highlight experience. I have two actually. So, one was when I was much younger, when I was still quite new in the worship team. I think we were singing this song, Hosanna, Be Lifted Higher by Israel Hilton. I forgot who was leading worship, but then while we were worshiping with, in that song, and while we were building the song to let the spirit lead, right? We were at the bridge at the time, so we were building and building and building, and I could hear voices beside me, like this year actually, like towards this side of my ear. And back then in the worship team, we didn't have IEN, so we were still using floor monitors. So everything was just through the bottom, like the live feedback and all. Then the sound was just very strong on the left side of my ear, and it's just a very soothing voice, like probably 3 to 4 people kind of singing in the background at the back of my ear, and I didn't know who it was. I turned left, I turned right, there was nobody, because that time drums were still on the stage. There was nobody behind me. Then like I didn't know what sound it was, but then it was just very soothing, very nice to listen to, like just lady's voice, that kind of thing, you know. Then I couldn't like I couldn't figure out what it was, so I had to ask pastors. Then most of the pastors couldn't really describe what it was, but then one pastor just said that it could be, you know, angels singing or stuff like that. And I don't know, like I don't know how angels sing and all of that. I don't know who else experienced it before, but then it was just very surreal, lah. Yeah, so that's one. The other one was when Julius Subi was a guest speaker. So you know how Julius Subi was is, right? He's just very how to say, unexpected. He just lets the spirit lead. So while he was speaking, he suddenly sang a song, and no one had heard that song before. So and then it was during first service. All of us were still half awake. We couldn't figure out what he was saying. Then for a good 1 to 2 minutes, right, it was just Julius to be singing. Then all of us was just like, what did he do? What did he do? What did he do? You know? Then I panicked. I really panicked. And then before I play drums, and during praise and worship sessions, I always pray no matter what. Yeah, I always pray. Whether we're doing a good thing or a bad thing, I always pray. So I was panicking, and then all I did was just pray. And like, you know, God, like I cannot let the main sanctuary worship team be looked down on, you know, that kind of thing. Like, you got to show how decent main sanctuary worship team is. Like, pray, and then I just played something, and then the beat just flowed. Like, yeah, the beat just flowed. My hands were sweaty and all of that, but then I was just playing. My body was really hot. Then after he stopped saying it, right, Julius Subi was like, "Oh, thank you for playing with me," something like that. So it was just Julius Subi singing and the drums playing, and then the piano. I think Sujata was playing the piano. Then she was just trying to figure out something. Yeah, and then after that, right, I just can't remember what happened. I couldn't remember the beat. I could remember the song, but I can't remember the beat at all. Then because we were trying to be prepared for second service just in case he sings that song again. But because it was like a in the moment kind of thing, it was like a spirit led kind of service. So there was no planning. But then he didn't sing for the second service lah. It was just a one-off thing, and yeah. Then Jinchi actually texted me saying like, "Oh, maybe we should learn that song. Do you remember the beat? Maybe you can record the beat in case next time Julius to be sings the song again." But then, yeah, like I can't remember the beat at all. I just told her like, you know, whoever's playing, just ask the drummer to pray really hard. Yeah. So that's my highlight.
So God is the best band leader, and He will lead you to play the drum,
Yes,
following the
yes,
spirit.
Yeah.
yes,
Amen.
yes.
What about let's go with the lady, Mel.
Okay, for me, okay, I remember. Okay, I mean, as we are all in the worship team, we know that being in the worship team, there's a lot of things running in our head when either we lead or we play. Okay, especially if RJ is a band leader, especially if I take on a role of a band leader. I think there was like 100 things running in your head, and there's so many things to think about. And I remember there was this occasion that there's so many things running in my head, and I'm just not in the right mindset for playing in worship because I was concerned about the cause. I was thinking whether we are playing it right, are we blending in or not, are we accompanying, keeping time or not at the same time in the ear, and kind of thing, planning what is next, and kind of thing. And it was a worship song, and I just totally lose the whole worship, whatever you said, mindset, and you have to tap in God's presence. All this, I was totally out that morning. I would remember, and um, and then when we were playing the song, it just suddenly there was just a very clear voice and came to me when I was the most busiest lah with my thoughts and everything. It just came and says very clearly just one question: Melody, what are you doing? And that really, wow. Okay, now I think of it also, I felt a bit emotional, but I just played, but I remembered the tears just come, and it was dripping on my keyboard and everywhere. I was praying because it's a service that is zoom in cameras and all that. I was like, please don't zoom in on me. This is not the right time, kind of thing. But anyway, my mind was like cloudy and everything. But I just don't remember playing the whole song, and it just ended. But the whole session, I was just crying. For me, I just felt like um as a worship team member serving God, that God did not forget me,
Mm,
that His presence was there, kind of
mm,
thing. Yeah, sorry. So for me, yeah, that was the highlight. That was the experience that I had, and of course, there are still many encounter like this. But just that was one of my first few time that I had that kind of
Mm,
encounter. So it was very surreal, like Ajay said, and
mm.
yeah,
Thank you. Thanks for sharing with us these
no problem.
very strong moments. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. Sean, your turn.
Um, for me, one of the most defining moments during worship was not when I was a worship leader, but when I was part of a choir and I had to wear like this super weird setup, like this white shirt with a light blue bow tie, and like, gosh, like, none of us wanted to do it, but we had to. But the most defining moment for me was when FGA sang "How Great Is Our God" at our 36th anniversary. When we sang when we sang the song in four different languages. We were at Stadium Bukit Jalil, right? And it was like with 10,000 FGA people. And at that very moment when I was standing on the stage, like all the way behind, because surprisingly I'm short, right? I'm supposed to stand in front, but then they put me on a platform, so I ended up being tall, so I had to stand behind. So I was standing all the way behind at the back, like at the end of stage, like towards the right, because I'm the shortest. So towards the right, and it was then witness FGA singing How Great Are God. And we went from English to Mandarin, Bahasa to Tamil. It was at that moment I saw um, what FGA was called to do, which was to reach out to the people of Malaysia, not just for the English language, not just for the Mandarin language, also for the Bahasa and also for the Tamil. I think that was that moment that really moved me. Like it was a simple song, very simple song, sung in different languages brought out so much more meaning as to the call of who FGA is, and the call of FGA in Malaysia. So yeah, that was a very defining moment for me.
Mm, mm, mm.
Stadium.
Yeah, I think a lot of us would remember the
Yeah.
celebration at the stadium 36th anniversary, right? And
Yeah.
those moments were just amazing. And I remember I was visiting as a new believer actually, and I was just so amazed at what God can do to unite people.
Yeah.
And I mean, even right now, even though we are not physically together, but
Mm.
we are still united in God in that way.
Yeah.
And even with different languages, we can be united.
Yeah.
Um, thank you everyone for sharing. And since we have we've talked about the highlights of experiencing God moments. What about sometimes if some people, or even if just yourself or even myself, when um, we don't feel the presence of God. We don't feel like worshiping when the songs is just going on. You don't feel like worshiping, or even when you're at home, you don't feel like worshiping. What do you do? What should you do when we just don't feel it? What can we do? Um, okay, Sean, you're smiling, so you go first.
I saw RJ looking away from the camera. Hey, voila.
Yeah, please don't take me, please don't take me.
Okay.
Good.
Yeah, it's I think it's a very good question. For a lot of us, I think not just worship leaders, but I think whether we're on stage or whether we're not on stage, um it's very easy to worship God when you feel like it, right? When things are going your way, it's very easy to sing how great is our God. But when you've lost a loved one, or when you've lost your job, or when you've lost something important to you, it's very difficult for you to sing how great is our God. And I think personally, I would like to share my experience. There have been moments where I worship led, and as all of us in the worship team, there are times where you're just so distracted with everything that's going on stage, right? Like, oh, we could have gone deeper, or we could have done this better, or we could, like we could have done so. Like a lot of distractions on stage, right? And that actually does affect the worship team's mood. Like sometimes as a worship leader, so you can feel like, yeah, I don't feel like worship wasn't good enough. Um, but I think of those moments that have happened, I've had random people come up to me and say, "Wow, worship was super powerful and stuff like that." And I'm like, "Huh?" But I felt total opposite of how you felt, And some people say, "Oh, the song moved me and whatnot." And I think if we limit ourselves to worshiping based on feelings, then we are missing out so much more of what God can actually do to us during a worship moment. And I say this because sometimes it's very easy for us to limit that worship moment to just a it's very common for people to like, oh, the two fast songs are just to warm up the crowd, or the two fast songs are just for people to get into the mood. And then when we go, what a beautiful name it is, and people start crying and stuff like that, right? So we think that is how it's going to be. But my personal experience was, I was in youth ministry back then, and they were singing this fast song. So every time song start is like fast song, right? And nobody is at 7:30 in the morning. Nobody is in the right frame of mind to do a fast song. But we were doing this song. Um, we give it all away, away. You know that song? The hey, hey, we give it all to go your way, right? And I really wasn't in the mood at all to worship. Like it's 7:30. I had a bad day. Like something bad happened at work, and I'm like in service at 7:30. I'm here because I'm forced to be here. I'm a leader, no choice, right? But what I did was I decided to sing the song. Um, and it was very weird because during a fast song, everybody is very hyped, everybody is shouting, jumping and whatnot. When I sang the song, when I sang the part, be giving it all way away, I just started crying. And like I did not understand why I was crying. It's just moments like this that you just cannot explain. And I think I just want to tell people that, if you don't feel like it, it's not, we don't worship because of how we feel. um, we worship because of who God is and what He has done for us and what He's going to do for us. And if we're just going to worship based on how we feel, then it's very unfair as to how we're going to that moment that we have with God. And I think for some of us, maybe it's a song, maybe worship leader is singing a brand new song, you don't know how to sing the song, or you don't like the song, you don't like the tune. There are some songs we don't like the tune, and stuff like that. But I think when we make that choice, when we make that step to say, hey, I'm going to worship no matter what, because no matter how bad my life has been, or no matter how I feel, I'm still going to worship. And like Pastor Daniel shared the message this morning very clearly, like how Daniel, when he wrote that psalm, he wasn't in a place of, you would think that, oh, someone is in a good place to write a psalm. He wrote it from a place of one of the most difficult moments for you to be in. And I think for those of us who, sometimes if you don't feel the presence of God, um, our advice, or my advice, would be to lay down yourself, lay down your feelings, and just worship Him because of what He has done for you and what He is going through for you. Yeah. So that is for me, lah. That is from my side.
Mm. Yeah, and for who God is, right? Thank you so much, John. Mel.
Okay, for me, there are many occasions that definitely you don't feel like you don't feel the presence of God, you don't feel like worshiping God, or I mean, in that kind of sense, you don't feel like reading the Bible. I think everyone went through that. For me, I try to put it in such a way that feeling is very subjective and just actually whatever we said, I feel like we are echoing each other. Even what Sean have shared, is some things about sometimes just putting your foot out and just keep on doing it. And like if you don't feel like it, but if you take a step and you continue doing what you think God is asking you to do, and ultimately you won't fall short of His presence. And ultimately, I would say feeling is real. And somehow, yeah, you might started off not feeling it, but God's presence, when He comes, He will make sure you get that. You know that His presence is there, and definitely you can feel His presence. But from not feeling until then, it's about our reaction, what we do,
Yeah.
kind of thing. Do we just stop? Do we just sit and wait and blame God? That's the part that I felt that is something that we need to persevere through. If it's
Mm,
a moment of like you are in a desert, is a moment of place that you don't hear God and you don't feel like doing anything, but God actually say in His word that if you seek Him, He will be found by you. So
mm,
this is what that I think, let the truth holds it and don't let the feeling take over, but
mm,
just power on.
mm,
Yeah. So for me, that's how I do it for myself. And I just want to share with everyone. Hopefully somebody feels that way as well and able to take from that.
mm. RJ, do you have anything to add on or
For
anything?
me, I really second what Melody said in particular, where you really have to, just pull through and persevere on. Because for me, right, I'm a perfectionist. And as a band leader, when when a little thing goes wrong, I get a bit annoyed. And you can see those that stand near the drums will definitely tell that there's a mistake. Whether I laugh it off or I give a serious look. Sometimes it will be so serious that Esther once said that, hey, you look like you have a unibrow. Yeah, because I was like, yeah, so for me, right, it's very I have to always remind myself that sometimes when you are not feeling it, it doesn't mean that God's presence isn't there because God knows what to do with you. He has everything planned out for you, right? So whether it's a little feeling or strong feeling, it's all in His timing. So when you don't feel His presence, right? All I can say is just be committed, persevere through, and just keep believing. Just keep believing, and wait with the right attitude. I mean, if you're just gonna purposely wait, right, then obviously you won't feel it. But with the right attitude, then you will feel it and you will notice it in one way or another. Yeah.
Mm,
So it's not about just like I'm just gonna wait, or like I wait for 1 week already, 1 month already, still doing that. No, because sometimes you have to know that God is actually testing you. Yeah, right. Like you wouldn't
mm,
know it, but God knows. So you just have to wait and then just pray with the right attitude. Yeah,
mm,
that's
mm,
that's what I would advise lah.
mm.
Mm,
Yeah, I'll just quickly add on just a quick sharing from my end. Like there was this one Saturday that I was on duty and I just didn't feel like going to to worship team because my sister was in the hospital and the doctor found a 11 cm growth on her in her womb. She was 7 months pregnant. One of the doctors said that she has to be operated immediately because it looks like it's a cancer. uh, I didn't feel like going to church that day, right? Because I don't know how I was feeling, but I went anyway. And before the worship start, I just say, God, help me to worship you. And then there was this one song that we started worshiping. It's called Living Hope. And the song that says, spoke your name into the night, speaking Jesus' name into the night situation. And I was just singing that song over the baby, over my sister, and the song that just came alive to me, declaring the grave has no hold on me, things like that. And uh, yeah, in the end, my sister didn't need to go for, long story short, she didn't need to go for operation, and the baby was delivered due to natural contraction, and the growth turned out to be a normal cyst. So I just felt that God did something in the moment that I chose to worship Him over trying to be buried with whatever worries that I had. Yeah, so I believe that and really thank God for that.
Amen.
We're gonna end with two questions. So let's go with the second last questions. So over the years, have you ever actually wanted to give up serving in the worship team? A quick one round and say yes or no and why. Yeah. Okay, we'll start with. Okay, Mel look away already. So Mel, you will start.
So now we are not supposed to look away also. It doesn't work. All right. Okay. To answer your question, do you ever feel like giving up? No, but I would say more like different stages in my life that caused me want to stop, not say give up, but with the mind of I want to return later on, but maybe I just need a rest now, I need a pause and kind of thing. So that's my personal experience. And just to tell a little bit story, I hope there's time for me to tell a bit story. So it's actually when I enter into motherhood. So when I have my first girl, uh, 10 years ago, um, I sort of took leave from worship team. I mean, that one is undeniable because, yeah. So after my give birth, we were talking. I mean, before I actually go on maternity leave, we actually talked. Me and Lake and I, my husband, we talked about it and say because both of us also in worship team, so we are talking about it. Oh, so I was saying that okay, maybe we just leave it like we don't know what's in store for us having a child, how it feels like, and what we have to juggle. So maybe after when I have my girl, then maybe I told my husband, maybe you can go back first. Then after that, I'll come back and kind of thing. So we just leave it as that, very vague. But I just realized that there's so many things comes into motherhood, and um, 3 months become 6 months, 6 months become 9 months, 9 months become 1 year. And we were at this position that we are trying to juggle parenthood, and then we became comfortable. Of course, after 6 months, it sort of settled a bit, and then it just become there's so many reasons for me not to return. That's the whole point that I'm trying to get at. So it was so comfortable because I was thinking, hey, I got so many things to do, my children is still young, kind of thing. And so that was the thoughts that happened to our family. And then Leah and I was in such a comfortable position where we say, oh, I don't think we can. And we start to give excuses. And God was convicting us about our excuses. I think it's about 1 year along, maybe slightly after 1 year, and seriously asking us like, what are y'all doing? Like, is it that all these worries, not say worries of the world, but the burden that you have, the responsibility that you have, so does it mean that you're not coming back to serve me in that capacity that I called you to, kind of thing? So God really convicted us, and there was such a point that we need to sort of put down and tell ourselves that okay, we can work it out. Whether because I gave excuses like, oh, my child can't scream in the car seat when I drive to church alone. No, I need some help, kind of thing. What if she vomits and all this kind of whatever lah, worries of life, right? So those are one of the things. And morning is so hard to get everyone ready for church, and I need my husband help, and he cannot go back to worship team because there's so many things. So these are the things that I face. And I realized that when God start to focus back and tell us that, it's convicted us, and then we start to make everything work in that sense. Don't care. The child screams, it's fine. She vomits, wipe up the vomits. It's okay. God is more important. You just keep telling yourself and pushing through. And then I realized that all these things are not so important after all. And that's how we start to go back in serving Him. So he went back first. And then the next one, I think few months later, I went back. Of course, with the schedule, we tell the person who schedule it, say that we need to alternate because of we need to take care of our 1-year-old. She can't be running wild while we are on stage. Yeah. So those are the things. And when we have our second child, we put a deadline so that we don't give excuses. So we just tell God that my husband Lake is going to go back in 3 months' time after the birth of second child, and I'm going to go back in 6 months. And we just set the date, and we make sure that we sort of keep our promise to God in that sense. And God just make it work, I would say. So in that sense, I would say not giving up, but yeah, there are many things that will come and cause us to sway a bit. So yeah,
But
so that's my
definitely, there's a lot of dedication there and commitment and sacrifices to be made, lah.
with God's help, yes, actually. But yeah, thank God lah. It's not something that we can do it on our own strength actually.
Okay. What about RJ?
For me, to cut the whole story short, right? For me, definitely yes. I have moments where I actually wanted to take a break or actually leave the worship team because worship team we lack drummers, so it's quite tiring to be on duty three times straight in a month, stuff like that. But then I'm a person where I feel bad after I say no. Yeah, I'm softy. Yes, I feel bad. So I'm still in the worship team. Yeah. Yes.
I see.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my story. I want to, but then I feel bad, so I've never left. Yeah.
And
Will
Sean?
never left,
Uh,
never leave.
for me, I have actually I never had, I never had a thought of giving up serving in. I think for me it was and then back then also like you have to like serve every other week, and it's like first service so you have to be in church by like 6:15. Crazy. I still don't know why they come up with this kind of schedule lah, but uh I'm just gonna put it out there. I don't know why we come up with this schedule, but for me it was always more of um, I think for me it was always just being very blessed to be given this opportunity to lead. I mean, if we look at worship leaders in that sense, there are so many other worship leaders who are, I feel, on a personal level, who are just so much more anointed, or they can hit the key, or they have the voice of like Michael Bublé, or those kind of worship leaders are they breathe into the mic, and then some people just start crying already, like those kind of super anointed worship leaders, right? So to me, it was always God. You could have chosen so many other people. There has been so many people who can sing better than me, who are can wear clothes better than me, can like pull off the acoustic guitar better, can sing better, can like, more anointed and whatnot, but yet he still chooses me. So for me, it has always been a privilege for me to be able to lead FGA in worship, and it's always been a privilege for me to every time I'm given that opportunity to lead. Yeah, so for me, I've never had that thought of giving up certain worship.
Wow. Thanks for sharing. Okay, we're gonna go to our last question. If you've been blessed so far, click a like or heart shape to thank our panelists together. But let's go to our last question. What advice would you give to people who want to join the worship team? For this one, we'll start with Sean. You look surprised.
What advice to give? Uh, I think to make it short and sweet, the advice that I can give is to not overthink things. Like sometimes we may feel like we're not good enough, or sometimes we may feel like we are bad, right. But I think just go for the audition. If it's anything, you'll be lucky like RJ, right? You like the next day they probably put you on the spot, and you have to start serving. Uh, and if let's say you do not get into the worship team, I believe that we all have different giftings. Some of us are gifted in smiling at people. Like I can tell you, some people they smile at people, people feel very warm. Not like the creepy smile, right? But like some people are just some people are just gifted in teaching. Some people are gifted in the word. And I think, for those of you who want to join, just go for it. For those of you who have tried and have failed, it does not mean that you are bad or whatnot, but it could also mean that God has given you a different gifting, and once you identify that gifting that God has placed you in, you would find yourself fitting in into that puzzle that God has for you. And so, yeah, that is my advice.
Yeah, and I think building on the point of feeling not good enough, like sometimes even if we try audition and we might have failed the first time, second time, third time, but we can still try again if you
Yeah.
just feel this strong desire and passion and you just maybe that it wasn't the season yet, right? So it yeah, it's about trying as well. RJ?
Just audition. Don't plan, don't prepare, just go
Sounds
ahead.
sensible.
Just go ahead.
Just go for it.
Yeah,
Good
but
advice.
if you want to this way, maybe start from children ministry. Audition from there. Just start play from
Mm,
children ministry and
mm,
go build your way up. Yeah.
mm. Okay. Mel?
For me, I think look at two sections here. One is like the heart. So if you really felt that God has called you and you really have a heart and passion for joining worship team, then we just have to check our heart that our heart is right. The attitude of being want to be part of the worship team, yeah, kind of thing is right. And second thing is the technical part, of course, because this is a very technical based kind of serving. So
Yes.
it does, even for us as part of the worship team, we have to continuously improving. I mean, have to improve ourselves. And now with even online, there are more things to learn, that kind of thing. So yeah, these are the things that continue to improve, continue to learn. That's number one. And just now, Xiao Chen brought up, if you don't pass like first audition, second audition, kind of thing, if you have the heart, your heart is right, the attitude is right, then I felt that you have to persevere. You have to persevere and you have to continue to improve yourself and don't give up. Don't give up just because somebody said no to you.
Yeah.
Okay, but having said that, please consider Sean's opinion as well, because just now he just said something like it's true, because some of us may be cut out for something else and we don't want to miss that part of service for God as well. Kind of thing. Yeah, so don't give up, heart must be right, and continue to improve yourself.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. With that, we wrap up today's Real Talk session on the topic of worship when the music fade. And we learned from our dear panelists here that, worship is really about lifestyle. It has to come from our heart. And sometimes most of the time it's not about how we feel, actually. It's really about who God is, and He deserves our worship. And He deserves us to choose to worship Him uh, over our circumstances, no matter no matter what is happening around us. And thank you everyone for sharing your very interesting stories. I hope all of you who are watching, you learn something, or you get to know your worship team members more.
Amen.
For next, if you are blessed by this session, you can click like and also share with your friends on Facebook so that we can encourage other people to, yeah, heart shape. Sean wants some heart shape, and Mel wants a thumbs up. But share with your friends, and next week we will be here on the same time as well, 4 p.m. Real Talk, and the topic will be on personal finance, navigating financial storm. So we'll see you next Sunday at 4 p.m. And let's thank Sean, RJ, and Melody. Thank you so much. See you,
Thank you,
FGA. Have a
Bye.
everyone.
blessed Sunday.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.